Hello and welcome to My Startup TV. I'm Major Sunil Shetty. Veterans often need guidance and mentoring as they transit from uniform to civilian or corporate life. This journey is not always easy, from finding the right job to connecting with potential employers. Veterans face unique challenges. So, what are the solutions? To address this important need, a platform has been created by a veteran for the veterans because who understands a veteran's journey better than the one who has lived it. The platform is called Forces Network. Is an initiative dedicated to supporting veterans in this transition. Joining me today is Colonel Iqbal Singh, the founder of Forces Network, which is based out of Delhi. He will share the vision and mission behind the platform and help us understand how the platform can help veterans and how veterans can benefit from the services offered by the platform. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Sunil. Thanks for having me on the show, and thanks for the opportunity.
So, sir, before we start talking about the Forces Network platform, which is a self-explanatory, the way the platform has been titled, most of our viewers come in the age group of 18 to 24, and many of them who watch or follow our Soldierpreneur show, which is a show dedicated to soldiers who become entrepreneurs, people like you and me. They want to know what's the background. They want to know their story from their armed forces career. So I would like to request, I'll request you to start off with, what got you into the armed forces, any important, thing that you remember from there, or moment that you cherished from being when you were in the armed forces, and how did the transition happen?
Sunil, firstly, I'm not able to hear you clearly because there seems to be some kind of an echo or something.
Check. How is it now, sir?
Yeah, better now. Yeah.
Better. So my question was, most of our viewers are in the early age group, to 18 to 24, and one thing they want to know when we host a veteran on our show is to know their journey, their armed forces journey. So if you could share what got you into the armed forces and any moment that you cherished from the armed forces days.
I joined the army as a family tradition. So I was third generation in the army, second generation officer. And growing up in the 80s, there were very few career options back then, and army was one of the attractive career options. I was fairly good in academics, was doing well in school, was my school captain, and I gave the NDA exam and I cleared and went and joined the NDA and got commissioned into 4th Battalion, the Garhwal Rifles. And almost immediately after my commissioning, we landed up in Sri Lanka as part of the Indian peacekeeping force. So it was literally a baptism with fire right at the beginning of the career. So one had to undergo a lot of challenging leadership situations, which really tested my leadership. And I would say, in hindsight, thankfully, laid a foundation, a pretty strong foundation for a subsequent career. So the nearly 2 years that we did in Sri Lanka were definitely challenging. And as a young officer, 20 years old, you were like leading a company, troops of 100 plus people. And it really, I grew up or matured very quickly because there was no other option. After that, I did all the regular things which one does in the army. I was selected on an infantry vacancy to do the EME officer's degree engineering course. So that's how I did my BTech electronics. I did fairly well on the course, was recommended for MTech. I did my MTech from University of Pune, and then of course did my staff college. And have been a brigade major of a infantry brigade. And then I sidestepped to a role which was very close to my heart. I was posted into the Wargaming Development Center at New Delhi, the Indian Army's Wargaming Development Center. And in that role, I really enjoyed that role because It unleashed my creativity. I was able to use my qualifications for the benefit of the services. I was sent to France to study some French simulation systems, came back and proposed some systems. So that was a really fascinating 2-year tenure. And that got me thinking that this is something I enjoy being in the technology space. Uh, I was also involved in writing the future of military simulation for the next 15 years for the Indian Army. So as a major, I wrote it, and I see some of those recommendations have been implemented today. So it's extremely satisfying. And that was the era, 2005, 7, 8, when the IT boom was taking place in India. And I felt that my talent could be better utilized outside, because in the army, you keep getting posted to different billets after a couple of years. So that was the decision. And in 2008, I took premature retirement upon completing 20 years of service, and then joined my first corporate job in Hyderabad, Satyam Computers. And thereafter, I joined Nokia at Gurgaon and Noida, did a fairly long stint with them, 12 years. And around 3.5 years back, I joined Google at Gurgaon. So that's my journey in the army and the corporate.
Question was because having myself transited from from the uniform to to a civil setup, it's always there is always a challenge. So how was your transition when you decided to do this?
Yes, so I think you have raised a very important question. The military to corporate transition is never easy. So, luckily for me, I started preparing 5 years before I left, and I had a pretty smooth gradient to climb, so to speak. So, I equipped myself with a lot of technical certifications. So I did an MBA, I did the project management PMP certification, and several other courses which came in handy to me. So I think what people do not realize, the military personnel, before moving out to the corporate, is that there are two completely different systems, the military and the corporate. One operates on a values-driven system. The other is bottom-line driven, right? One is process-oriented. The other is outcome-oriented. The decision-making model here is completely different than the decision-making model there, right? And each industry is completely different, right? So the advice I give to most transitioning military personnel is, do not look at transitioning from the military to the corporate as another posting or a transfer as you have in the Army, Navy, or Air Force. Look at it as an immigration. You're going to a completely new country where probably you do not understand the language. Your qualifications acquired hitherto are no longer valid, and you need to start afresh. And I've seen that analogy seems to land well with the people. Though all those who have kind of adopted that, I've seen that they've had a fairly successful transition. So the key to transitioning successfully, I would say, is number one, clarity. Know where you are headed, right? Once you know where you're headed, you need to prepare for it. Once you have done the preparation, you should be able to communicate or articulate your value proposition to the external world, which could be via your branding, personal branding, your LinkedIn, your CV, or even some people have a website nowadays. And then, of course, all these three pillars need to be surrounded by what I call a mentor. So if you have a mentor, the pathway to success is reduced.
When I came out in 2000, I know it was a world when the only best job you could think of getting, because there was no corporates and no resettlement as in what happens today, was to look for a security officer's job, right? So I understand, and what's happening today gives me really I feel really happy when I see officers coming out doing their IMs, they're going to IITs as a resettlement, which is really really good. Because that would be the best fit for them when they get into corporate world. So sir, you have a full-time job, and then you start you decided to start Force Network. So first I want to know as to what triggered this, or how did this come about when you thought you need to create a platform like Forces Network, and also the passion behind running this while you have a full-time employment.
Right. So when I came out in 2008, uh, um, I mean, since I had prepared for 5 years for transition, when I looked around left, right at my colleagues, the former colleagues from the services, I saw most of them struggling, and I couldn't understand why. So the way it worked was somebody would come to me, help him or her make a CV. So I would do that, and some people got a job thereafter. Some people would come to me for seeking advice on how to handle a job interview. I would try and share my learnings, and some of them were successful. So that got me thinking, right? That the military to corporate transition process is a process full of friction. How can we reduce it? How can we make transition simple? So that was one driving factor. The second was when I came out in the corporate, I saw everybody else had a network. There were alumni networks, and there were community networks, there were IIT networks, there were IM networks. And I would say, where is our network? The veterans network. And in my mind, I always felt if all the veterans got together, there's no force upon earth which could take upon us. So there was no network of the veterans, so to speak, especially in the corporate. So it was these two, I would say, motivations which drove me to start the Forces Network. I said, instead of complaining, let's try and do something. So I created this network called Forces Network. We had two objectives. Number one, help transitioning military personnel to have a smooth transition into a corporate career. Number two, build a professional network of the military veterans in the corporate. And those two objectives have not changed in the last 17 years that we've been in existence. Anything that we do, I ask myself this question: is it contributing to any of the two objectives? If the answer is yes, it's only then that we go ahead with that activity.
The activity itself of Forces Network, for the benefit of veterans who are watching this program and others, how do you help them? One is, I mean, you broadly touched upon, the networking opportunity, but if you could just take us through a process as to what typically happens, at an event, or at how do you help veterans when they're transiting?
All right. So it has evolved over a period of time. So I think the first networking event that we did in Forces Network was in Hyderabad. The year was 2008. I think it was 26 September. And 40 veterans came. We just went to a restaurant and ordered buffet dinner. But everybody felt that, oh, this is something that we needed, right? So that's how it got started. And initially, we started a Google group, and we used to start sharing job openings with others. So that was some of the first activities that we did. And then we started helping people with CV writing, handling interviews, guiding people on the pathway to upskilling, right? If you want to be in cybersecurity, then what are the certifications that you need to do if you want to be in, and follow it up with a domain certification like cloud related, right? Foundation certification. So that's how we started. And then as the network grew, so initially it was just me kind of guiding and mentoring a couple of people, handful of officers who were coming to me. So they were like coming in twos and threes and fives and tens. Then that became like a large number. So it became hundreds of people. So it was impossible to handle them one-to-one. Coaching was not possible. So that's when we started doing large-scale training events and seminars. So we have mastered the art of, I would say, the military to corporate transition. In my mind, I'm a systems person. I always believe humans can make mistakes, but systems work. So I always wanted to deconstruct the whole uh, thing about transition and demystify it and reduce it down to a framework, so that if you follow the framework, you just can't go wrong. You have to succeed. So that was based on a lot of research. We did a lot of surveys with the members. We spoke and had interviews with successful veterans who were thriving in the corporate world. And we learned several lessons, right? And there would be people who would come and tell me that I suffered, I did not prepare, I'm having a miserable time in the corporate or in my second career after the services. And I would tell them, can you share your learnings publicly? And they would say no, because there was shame attached uh, if you attach it to the name. And I wondered, how could I get these insights? That's when I thought of a confession box survey in the Forces network. So it is something like what happens in the church. So it is anonymous feedback. And I opened a survey for a few weeks. And what came out was really, really insightful. People really poured their heart out and the actual pain areas. That kind of helped us devise the framework for a successful military to corporate transition. So I think it's been continuous learning. And of course, we had several people coming and contributing. It's a community. No one person knows everything. We learn from each other. And we evolved over a period of time. So I would say military to corporate transition training is something we've kind of mastered, I feel, because anybody who's followed that framework has succeeded without any exception. That's number one. So we've done 10 military to corporate training workshops. So it used to be a full day workshop before COVID, morning to evening. We would do a CV writing workshop. We would make people write CVs in the workshop and they would walk out with a written CV and subject to a relevant job description, which we would give in advance, like a simulation of a job. And then, of course, we would do a mock interview on the stage for one candidate and then share the feedback. People found it extremely useful, right? And the second event that we used to do was the professional networking seminars. So what we realized is if we want access to people at higher echelons in the corporate, we need to have a proper kind of a event and invite them as speakers, and people could come and interact with them there, right? And we also used to have mentoring sessions after the seminars where we used to put a round table and one person would sit as a mentor and anybody can come and seek advice. So I think these were some of the events which really helped us and were found to be very extremely useful by all the community members.
In the 17 years of the work that you're doing with Forces Network, what kind of impact, if you have to quantify it, what kind of impact has Forces Network created?
I didn't really hear the question. So you're saying what is the impact I created? What, right?
If you could, if you could impact Forces Network has created since it was started.
All right. So that's a very good question. So there's one metric which I call the vanity metrics. If I look at it, we have more than 7,100 officers of the tri-services as members, right? We started with 17 years back. We've done 25 seminars across the country in 4 major cities. We would have done more than 250 plus webinars. I get invited to literature festivals. I've been covered in the media. I've spoken in various forum, industry fora, etc. Advised a lot of companies on how to run veteran hiring programs. But if you really ask me, what is the impact that we have created and that I'm proud of? The impact that I think we have created and I'm proud of is what we have created is a platform of trust. And our members trust us because we have never done anything unethical or wrong, right? And what does trust do? Trust gives you the power to become influencers, to become change makers. So, as a result of that trust, we've been able to shift the mindset of people. We made upskilling, getting certified, being current on the technology trend. And the attitude with which people used to come outside was different. So we set up very early towards the early days of the network, we set up what is called the spirit of Forces network, because I understand it's easy to set up a network, easy to set up an organization. It's difficult to set up culture. So that defined the culture. So the spirit of Forces network says it's not about seeking doles or favors. It's about having a can-do attitude and competing on an equal turf with your corporate colleagues, not a quarter asked for, not a quarter given, right? It was about not being a Mr. Know-it-all and having the humility to say, okay, I do not know, but I will learn. I'm here to learn. So that was the spirit of the Forces network, which I think our members imbibed very well. And that helped us a lot. And I think that is the impact that I'm really, really proud of. we've had officers who are from complete non-tech background, BA, political science or something, and they would come and ask me, can I get a job in a technology company, in a tech role? And I would say, yes. And we launched a program called Anybody Can Tech, right? And I'm really proud of that program. We took people who were complete non-tech, we took them over a period of 6 to 10 weeks online training program to a certification from, let's say, somebody like Microsoft, like AZ900 Cloud Foundation certification. Several people got jobs. The people who are like infantry officers, BA, they're working as cloud consultants today. Somebody who's an artillery officer is working in data analytics today in Amazon. So that to me is the real impact. And that's the impact that I'm truly proud of.
Amazing, sir, because if you can make a non-techie to tech, that talks about the kind of work that's happening on the ground, and Forces Network is creating the impact. So you are based out of NCR. Do you have offices in other cities as well? If not, are you planning to open this? Are you looking to collaborate with other veterans to have your presence pan-India?
So in my view, in today's day and age of technology and networking, you really don't need physical offices, right? So we do not have any physical office outside of NCR, and I honestly do not really feel the need for it. Yes, of course, we have members who are kind of leading some initiatives in some cities. We have strong presence in like Pune and Bangalore, Hyderabad, and Chandigarh. So yes, and I mean, you can say it's a centralized network, because in today's day and age, it's possible to run it from anywhere. By the way, I've also kind of spoken to veterans in the US, and what I realized was they have exactly the same problems as we have, despite all the government support that is provided in the US. And I have given a talk to the veterans attending courses in Columbia University in the US last year, and they could resonate. So I mean, it's not a India specific problem. This is a global problem. That's what I realized after meeting them.
Let you go. My Startup TV, we as a media house, are a platform for entrepreneurs like you, and we carry their stories, we carry their, mission to the wider audience. What do you think about the kind of work we are doing?
I think fascinating, Sunil. I heard you speak that you're going to start this. I think when we met in 2019 or 2018, I think when you came to one of our seminars in Delhi, I think it was 9th December 2018. And what is it going to be about? And honestly, I didn't expect much, but I think you've done an excellent job. I was seeing, I think you have job. I keep getting some of those videos where you have interviewed entrepreneurs, and the scale at which you have reached, I think it's very, very impressive. So my kudos to you and your team on a job which is done very well. And I think India or the world today needs more job creators than job seekers. And sadly, the equation or the numbers are completely skewed against it. So I'm glad that you're making an effort towards that. So my best wishes and congratulations on a great job done by your entire team.
Thank you for
In
joining in,
and
and
happy
happy.
Independence Day in advance, and we look forward to hosting you on other shows. And someday we want to see if we could host Forces Network online on our platform as well. Thank you for joining us, and viewers, if you want to hear such stories, do join us Monday to Saturday, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. on our live shows. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us.